So these are the different plants that are around in the garden. This one was transferred here. At first it was kind of weak and we weren't sure if it was going to make it through the transition. But it actually made a comeback quite quickly within a couple of days. And now it's doing really well. You know, I'm surprised that basil plants are so big. I had no idea that they grew so big. I don't know how big it will actually grow, but it's actually quite bushy. So, and that's something that I never knew, because I haven't ever seen a grown basil plant. I think I've only seen baby ones, and then they've died for some reason. Probably from harvesting the basil or something, but I haven't actually seen it in the large form. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It's like a tree almost. And this is a avocado tree. This one in particular is doing quite well, so whatever, it might just be in the best position, because the other ones would get a little more sun, I think, or something, but this one is probably going to make it to its adult stage. The others are kind of wishy-washy. They're not really sure what they're doing, but this one's doing well, so hopefully we'll be harvesting avocados in the next year or two. This is another avocado tree. It's not doing very well. It's a runted baby version, which I think that one's still, which hasn't grown half as big as the other one. They were all planted at the same time. So they're basically all the same age, but they've grown differently. So for some reason this one isn't as big and it's kind of weak and it looks like that. But it's not the worst one. The worst one died. This is another basil plant. Once again, we weren't sure whether this one was going to make it because it was very much struggling throughout the drought, but it made a comeback recently with the rain that we've been given. Either that or it had replaced something else was here that looked like a stick, but I assume that this is the same plant that was here when the drought was around, and if it was, it looked like very much like it was going to die. But it's thriving now, so good. It's expected that this one's going to live to be a nice, pleasant bush, nice and bushy, does well in the sun, like the other one. So this is a very good plant to plant around the garden, and I like how bushy it is. These olive trees are 3 or 4 years old, and they're still just growing. So we bought them. I don't know when we bought them. We bought them at least 2 years ago, if not 3. And they only had their first olives this year, and they're growing. They're getting more sprouts down there. It's starting to curve, so they are growing, but they're just growing very slowly. It's a slow growing tree, so like I look forward to seeing this in 10 years time, but in 10 years time this farm might not even be, these trees might not be here, because if it's sold, anything can happen to the actual land, and the trees might be cleared so that it can be pasture, so that it can be resold as mostly lawn, which would be a shame for these lovely little olive trees and many of the other trees that are being planted. But we'll see that when it comes. This is number 2 of the olive tree. This one's a bit bigger. It's way up here. But it's growing a bit taller. The other one's a bit shorter. And it's still developing. It's just a juvenile tree. So I'm looking forward to getting bigger, and I want it to get bigger and more olives, and we need more height with all these trees and things. We need another tree there. We need a couple more back there, so but it's getting bigger. Had its first buds of olives this year, and it's a bit taller than me now, so the other one's a bit shorter than me, and it'll get there. It's growing. It's power to the tree. This is a juvenile form of this is an avocado tree too. I was going to say this is a frangipani, but that's the next one. over. This is an avocado tree. It's not doing so well, but it looked like it was going to die. It looked like it was going to shrivel and die. But it's actually made a comeback since it's been raining, so, you know, hopefully it'll get bigger and bigger. And we only lost one avocado tree. I think that's where it had been. All the others are still growing.